morning. Welcome to Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church, and to those who were here just last night, welcome back. Cedar Lane is a liberal religious community where we gather to explore the eternal, nurture community, and build a more just world. We are a community where love works. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, whatever your life circumstance, and I say particularly at this time of the year, however you vote, you are welcome here. No, I mean it. You're welcome. Now, welcome those who are joining our service virtually, whether you're streaming right now or catching up with the service later. We're so glad that you've chosen to join us. If you're new to Cedar Lane, we have a small gift for you. So if you're new, would you please raise your hand so that we can get that gift to you? We are so glad that you've chosen to join us this morning for worship. All are invited to linger after the service to enjoy coffee and conversation. If you choose to use a yellow mug, our members and friends will be sure to greet you. Before we move into our worship time, I'd like to call your attention to your news insert in your order of celebration for a little bit more about what's happening at the church right now. And I have a few announcements to highlight. First of which, Reverend Abi this morning is accompanying our 6th grade religious exploration class to the Hindu temple. This is the religious exploration year where they go on field trips to different faith traditions, often on Sunday mornings. My daughter was in the class last year, and this particular field trip was one of her favorites. Last night we had a packed house for a successful Diwali celebration, the first of our Spirit Experience gatherings this year. Our next one, which I hope you'll be able to make, will be on December the 17th. And this week, there will not be a Beginning, Belonging, Becoming Newcomer workshop this Wednesday. Our next one will be on Saturday, November the 19th. If you're interested to learn more, please stop by our Welcome Center. And last, our fabulous auction team has asked me to make sure that y'all know that the auction tickets are on sale now. And if you're curious to see what's going to be up for auction at the auction, there's a preliminary version of the catalog that they have at their table back in the lounge as well. And now I invite you to turn and greet your immediate neighbors. And now we turn our attention to our sacred time. We turn our attention to this time and this space that we create, to the joy that we will share, and the inspiration and wonder that our music will bring us to this morning. Come, let us worship together.
As Anita Lynn, Michael McCrickard, and their sons Connor and Liam come forward to kindle our chalice, symbol of our shared faith, please rise in body or in spirit to read our chalice lighting words, printed in your order of celebration. In the mystery of life about us, there is light. It gives us a place to be, to grow, to rejoice together. It opens the pathways to love. Please remain standing in body or in spirit to sing together What Wondrous Love Is This, number 18 in the hymnal.
Love is
Unitarian Universalist minister Barbara Merritt shares this reading. Every spring, I look forward to the arrival of my walking magazine, Shoe Edition. In this issue, dozens of brands and styles of shoes are rated, assessed, analyzed, and recommended for different walking needs. Last year, I read about my own perfect shoe. It had narrow heels, extra cushioning, boxy toes, and good ankle support. I clipped the article and went to my nearest athletic specialty shop. Unfortunately, they didn't carry that model, and neither did the next 6 shops I went to. I went to the 8th shoe store with unsurprising low expectations. Much to my amazement, there they were. I tried them on, and they were probably the most uncomfortable sneakers I've ever put onto my feet. I was stunned. These shoes had obviously not been designed with my feet in mind. I tried on 3 different sizes, trying the ones below, the ones above, back to the ones below, but there was no way around it. My well-researched hunt for the perfect pair of shoes had been an abysmal failure. I tried on a different pair, one that wasn't even listed in this fabulous shoe edition of my magazine, and they were wonderfully comfortable. I left the shoe shop with my new shoes, puzzled about the benefits of being an informed consumer. All the information in the world couldn't adequately replace the hands-on wisdom of direct experience. I suspect this is true not only of shoes, but of things far more important. If you're like me, when your research is not providing you with the results you want, our next step is to do more research. In this frame of mind, I called a close friend last week with a simple question. The subject was not shoes, it was instead an intense backache. I asked him, "What can I do about the pain I'm in?" His answer was immediate. He said, "Well, Barbara, you're just going to have to suffer." Suffer, I thought. You mean I can't dodge this, solve it, manipulate it, avoid it, fix it, make it go away? You have no information, no wisdom, no insight that can change my pain into pleasure. I have to actually experience this for some time to come. I'm powerless? You mean I can't talk, think, or intellectually wiggle my way out of this? Does this sound familiar? Suffering was not the answer I wanted to hear, yet I could hear the truth in it. Some of life's experiences simply must be accepted. You're not supposed to enjoy them or love them, and certainly not seek them out. You've just got to survive them. Someone once told me that a functional theology is like a comfortable pair of shoes. The world will occasionally offer us rocky and difficult ground to walk on. Good shoes will allow you to cross over the broken glass without cutting your feet. They'll carry you across hot pavement without getting you burned. They'll take you across sharp rocks without bruises. This metaphorical and theological footwear will not make glass, hot pavement, and rocky terrain disappear, but good theology will give you some support, some protection, some comfort. It will help you go the distance. And I would add, like the shoes, it is not something we can just read about or research. We have to test it with our own direct experience. It takes some training to equate complete letting go with comfort. But in fact, nothing to hold on to is the root of happiness. There's a sense of freedom when we accept that we're not in control. Pointing ourselves towards what we would most like to avoid makes our barriers and shields permeable. This may lead to a don't know what to do kind of feeling, a sense of being caught in between. On the one hand, we are completely fed up with seeking comfort from what we can eat, drink, smoke, or couple with. We're also fed up with beliefs, ideas, and isms of all sorts. But on the other hand, we wish it were true that outer comfort could bring lasting happiness. This in-between state is where we may spend a lot of time. We may give anything to have the comfort we used to get from eating pizza or watching a movie or whatnot. However, even though those things can be pleasurable, we've seen that eating a pizza, watching a movie, is a feeble match for our suffering. We notice this especially when things are falling apart. We're told about the pain of chasing after pleasure and the futility of running from our pain. We hear also about the joy of awakening, of realizing our interconnectedness, of trusting the openness of our hearts and minds. But we aren't told much about this state of being in between. No longer able to get our old comfort from the outside, but not yet dwelling in a continual state of equanimity and warmth. Anxiety, heartbreak, and tenderness mark this in-between place. It's the kind of place we usually want to avoid. The challenge is to stay in the middle rather than buy into the struggle and complaint. The challenge is to let it soften us rather than making us more rigid and afraid. Becoming intimate with the queasy feeling of being in the middle of nowhere only makes our hearts more tender. When we are brave enough to stay in the middle, compassion arises and we begin to access our inner strength. This middle, this open-ended tender place, staying with it is what heals. From here, we can learn to love.
There is a season for every
we gather in this sacred space of community to find strength, the spiritual, emotional, and even physical strength to face the many challenges of our lives. In this time of reflection, we lift up those in our community who are living through significant passages, the small and extraordinary milestones of life. We pause to be present to our spiritual companions and to the concerns of our own hearts. May all who gather here be held in the embrace of this community of care. Melissa Reichley is saddened by the death of her Uncle Rodney on October 19th in Pennsylvania after his brave battle with Alzheimer's disease. We hold in our hearts the Sioux and those who are standing in solidarity with them at the Standing Rock Reservation in the Dakotas today. May these friends of ours and our companions in the world and all that lives unspoken in our hearts be held in the embrace of prayer and in the peace that the stillness of silence brings.
For our All Souls service today, during our silence, I invite you to speak the names of those whose memories you're holding in your heart today. There we go. Thank you to Henry, Jasmine, members of our choir, members of Bel Canto, for this absolutely glorious music that you have blessed us with this morning. Where charity and love abound, God is there. That's what we just sang. Ubi caritas et amor Deus ibi est. Where charity and love abound, God is there. Of the variety of times that we come to in the cycle of the year, this is a time of in-between places. It's a time between the warmer, lusher part of the year as we head into the chillier part of the fall and into the winter. It is the time in this part of the country when these green leaves we've been enjoying through the windows are really beginning to signal the seasonal change. And as we start to see the yellows and the oranges start to pop out and take over. It's also report card time for our little ones as the end of the first quarter of the school year arrives. And it's a time when we pause to remember those who've died, our loved ones and those who've gone before us, whose memories we bring to mind and remember. This particular in-between time is celebrated in many cultures. Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead in Latino cultures, All Saints' Day in the Catholic tradition, Samhain in pagan traditions, where they say it is a time when the veil between the worlds of the living and the dead becomes thin. This is an in-between place. There are, in fact, many in-between places that we encounter over the journeys of our lives. Many times, the time of transition when we are first facing a loss and going through journeys of grief, of change, these times feel like in-between places, and they certainly are. They're in between our former reality and the new one, where relationships and patterns are affected and changed by the loss or the change in our lives. It's in between one state and another, in between what was and the rebuilding. It is a time of transition and change. But there is another sense of this being an in-between place that we approach today. The act of remembering itself brings us to an in-between place. It brings us to the place where the veil between the world of the living and the dead is thin. It brings us to the place of that veil. It brings us to this place where we again see the faces of our ancestors and our loved ones, where we see the faces of all the souls who have influenced our lives. And it's a tender and special sort of in-between place. We are here in a liminal place near this veil as we call them to our minds, and it can feel vulnerable here. I wonder if the tenderness and vulnerability of this place is part of the reason that culturally so many folks shy away from remembrances of the dead and from even talking about death and dying, an in-between place that is often avoided. But that's why it's all the more important to be intentional about this kind of remembering as a community. That's why it's all the more important to be together and to remember. And that brings us to our time this morning. It brings us to this in-between place, this place of tenderness when we open ourselves to our memories. We open ourselves to those who are no longer with us, and the many and varied feelings that might be attached to those memories. As Barbara Merritt found on her search for shoes and back remedies, there isn't a perfect way to be in this place that avoids the feelings of vulnerability. We just have to be there, and they just have to be. And there isn't a way to avoid it or think ourselves out of it, get the celebration and the benefits without the tenderness. But we are here together. We are here together, as I think, in a way that in many ways only the beauty of music and the arts can elevate us to. We are here together, putting on our theological shoes on this journey, holding this sacred time and sacred space. May our remembering today be blessed, as may our time together be. May it be so. As our ushers come forward to receive this morning's offering, I invite you to participate in the life of our congregation. Sometimes that participation is with the gifts of our minds and our hearts, our skills and our time and our wisdom. And sometimes these gifts are of our livelihood and our commitment. Whether on Sundays at this time by electronic means or through our plate, we offer of ourselves to help make this community happen. The offering to sustain the mission and vision of Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church will now be given and gratefully received. Thank you for your generosity.
For the gifts we have received and for the gifts that we are, we give thanks for the spirit of generosity and the courage and compassion that may be made manifest by these gestures of faith. Please rise now in body or in spirit to sing Where My Free Spirit Onward Leads, number 324 in the hymnal.
Be
and celebrate those we have loved and lost as we come to this in-between place of remembering all the souls who've been part of our lives. May we hold them with joy, and may we hold ourselves and each other with care and tenderness. And remember, you are never all alone. Blessed be.
Bell can't go. When I need to go to the chapel, when you disassemble